Do a quick sound check. Everybody hearing me all right? I am good. I'll put some music on. We'll get started here. I'm starting at 2 o'clock, I think, going forward. This timing will work a little better for me. So just making sure, I know there's a delay here. But give me a shout. Let me know that you're hearing me all right. Okay? Okay, cool. Thanks. Enjoy music. I'll be back in just a few minutes. We'll kick off the show. Thanks again. Thanks everyone for showing up. Get started just in a few minutes here, folks.
search for new ways. Yeah, but that's alright. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright. Yeah, yeah. Disco. Drawn to conclusion, I slipped in delusion. A winner, I came to my claim. Hardly assaulted, I test my involvement. I gamble with those that are lame. Why stop the movement? It's thrilling, it's crudeness, it's cool, and it's bought me my fame.
Welcome everyone to the Kendall Report and a special live stream as we do every Wednesday. I guess it's not special, we just always do this. Just looking at a couple of things here, I realized that just now that Jay used my show yesterday and all the screen settings are messed up. So bear with me 1 second. Got to blame somebody, right? Just got to move a couple things around. Okay. Yeah, it's a kind of weird market. So I saw some comments, folks getting going here before we get going. And by the way, it is Runa time, so we got to pop the Runa and get ready to go. Yeah, so there's not a lot going on. It's really strange. I'll unpack a lot of details. I'm going to go through a number of things that I've been talking about on the daily videos that I think are going to be important to at least understand as we go forward. Markets went from crazy excitement a week ago to try to recreate it through the vaccine trade, and it just fizzled out. And right now I've got, let me go over, I'm going to put in the background just the E-mini futures as it's trading. Yeah, I just realized there's some lights that aren't on. I'll get those on in a minute. I guess it looks okay. What my plan is for today is to do what I usually do. I want to talk about a number of markets that I think are starting to show their hand a little bit. And, you know, there's just so much uncertainty right now. You know, I know that there's the controversy of the election is continuing. So folks aren't sure what to do with that. And certainly a lot of folks have formed their opinions about it. That's what they are at the moment. Nothing's, as they say, nothing's official. It's like watching a horse race and it's a photo finish, right? So we'll see how all this thing plays out. But I don't think that's what's going on in the markets right now. I think there's other things that are in the backdrop. And of course, I just saw a story on the way here that there were 1,500 deaths in one day in the U.S. of coronavirus. And they're really trying to play this thing up as much as they can. Not saying that 1,500 people didn't die. Don't start trolling me on this. That's not what I'm saying. You know, in 20 million cases last year, by the way, there were 68 million H1N1 influenza. So 20 million is not a big deal. There's 320. I'm not going to debate this with you folks because I know how emotional it gets around this thing. You know, but there's such an effort going on this planet. I talked to a friend of mine in Switzerland at Detail the other day, and they're locked down and going crazy. He lives just on the other. He lives in Lugano, and it's about an hour and 10-minute drive to Milan, and he can't even go to Italy to go buy groceries, which is about 20 minutes from his house. So it's pretty bad there, at least from the government lockdowns and everything that's going on. Markets aren't responding to this news, though. You know, there might be 20, there might be 40. Who knows? You know, it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out. And as I've been talking about for a while, the economy, let's just start here. The economy has actually adapted amazing to the environment that we're in now. They could turn the locks down and everything, and the things that I said this on a video probably last week, that things that are out there right now haven't changed. Travel, hospitality, all the areas that are being affected, restaurants, those are already affected. They're not getting necessarily any worse or any better. And everything else is continuing to operate. We figured out how to operate in this world at some capacity. You know, we're seeing capacity utilization rates come in around 80%, which in the old days, I know a lot of folks are younger. In the old days, if we got to 82% capacity ratios, that was off the map, unbelievable. Now, if we're not at 90 or higher, people are thinking there must be something, you know, like it's bad. And so it's just the view of the world, the context of the world that a lot of people have. And unfortunately, we live in a world where it's almost impossible to figure out what's real and what's not anymore. You know, there's, you know, it's a crazy environment that we're in. What we can be sure of, by the way, is the price on the screen at the moment. And we can make decisions about those prices. And that's what I do my best every night to bring to you folks as far as that goes. So, yeah, we'll definitely go through Tesla. Now, is it true? Are you guys hearing me all right? I just want to make sure. I don't think you were hearing me. And that was really good what I just said. I'm not seeing anybody saying, yeah, okay, you are hearing me. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for AHR 12 for the comment out of Japan. That's very interesting to say the least. Yeah. Like I said, okay, cool. Yeah, I just, you know, I think what we have to focus on, and those of us, let's face it, this channel, what I do for a living, what I've done for a living for a very long time is try to figure out how to make some money, how to protect capital, when to be in, when to be out. You know, it's the old Kenny Rogers song, know when to hold them, when to fold them. That's been my game forever. When I first started in this, I knew how to hold them. I didn't know how to fold them, and it cost me a lot of money. And I saw some comments that somebody had a trade on, and something I would like to do. I don't know if today's the right day for it or not, but it's certainly a possibility. But I saw a comment. Andrew was one of the very early folks that came on the stream this morning, and I said hi to him, but I also saw him say he got out of a trade that was worth a lot of money today. And so one of the things that I would like to spend some time, maybe toward the end of the show or something, the plan is to do 2 hours. I've being forced through things that are going on with the business that I need to start narrowing and be much more efficient with my time. And I want to spend time with this channel because it's very important to me. And so I'm going to try to get some themes as we go forward where I'm actually going to put out the theme. We'll talk about it. We'll still do individual stocks and things and that you folks want to hear about, but we're going to focus a little differently as we go forward. I've just got a number of things, like I said, going on that I have to get control of the time of what I'm doing. So it's, but you know, I think what I'm talking about here is when I mentioned Andrew, you have to ask yourself a question when you get out of a trade like that. And this is a really good lesson, Andrew. I'll talk to you specifically, but you and me and everybody's made that trade, by the way. Okay. Probably best trades that I made. I had some triples on longs going into Monday that I put on, and so I was able to take those off reasonably well, not perfectly. I was a little distracted. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate that, man. You didn't need to do that, but it's cool. But the point of what I want to talk about here is this, really, is that you have to always, I've told folks this for years, journal around your trading. So, Andrew, write down what your decision process was, why you did it. And every time you do a trade, good and bad, write those things down. And here's what will happen. You hopefully will identify something that will lead you to not making those same mistakes. Or sometimes a buddy of mine, a guy named Artie, on the trading floor days used to always say, you got to trick the market gods sometimes. So sometimes, and it's funny because I do this, I'll sell a partial trade out. So like if markets are going up or down, I'll sell out a partial trade. And he used to always say, you got to trick the market gods and make them think that you're getting out. So like maybe if you'd have sold part of your position, held a residual, and then stuff like that. But start to look at what you're doing, why you're doing those things, everybody out there. And especially, and I've said this before, this is why I built quantitative software. This is why I have an entire quant process, because discretionary trading is the hardest thing you'll ever do in life. I have a book that I read many years ago, and I used to use it as a format when I was talking to traders. It's called Woulda, Coulda, Shoulda. It's still out there. It's an old book, probably written way back in the 80s sometime. But it was a psychological self-help book. But they reference stock trading and other types of trading in there multiple times. And it kind of attracted me to the book. But it is woulda, coulda, shoulda. And that trade that Andrew was talking about was a woulda, coulda, shoulda. Woulda, shoulda, you did it, but you shoulda, So what you want to do is try to find out what those things are. And if you find there's a pattern in those decisions you're making, start to interrupt them. I have found when I get really, really nervous and tight about a trade and it feels like it's going against me, I put on more then. It's hard. It's counterintuitive. When it really feels like, oh my gosh, this thing's going to go down forever or go up against you if you're short, you put some more on. And one of my old mentors used to always say, if the trade doesn't scare you, you don't own enough. So you don't have a big enough position on. And so it's kind of an interesting, and the person that said that was the single largest trader on a Pacific options exchange at the time. And he seemed to be fearless. He wasn't, obviously. He just figured out how to play into his own emotions. And that's one of the things that you folks have to do. But yeah, so anyway, who was that? Market's down 10 right now. We're all the way down to 3,600. Oh my God. So yeah, we'll get into the markets here, but it kind of triggered me just seeing the comments, and I know that a lot of you watching this channel are trading and making decisions, and those are really, really tough things to do. They're not easy. And I'm going to turn this mic up. Just make sure we have plenty of volume on the mic. Let me know if that's too loud or anything. But these are the type of things that you have to deal with, and looking at markets, making decisions about them, and especially when it can affect your life, the real life. So we. All right, so let's start to dig into the markets here and start to get some things going on that I think will be helpful. But yeah, quick little thoughts on trading stuff, and there's a lot that I can bring to the table there. And I keep saying this, I just need to figure out the right venue where we just don't do when we do one of these sessions, that we just talk about trading. we talk about trade setups, we talk about the emotions and overcoming and some things like that. I found an old 1990s presentation I used to do called How to Become a High Percentage Trader. And I need to dig that out, and we probably just need, I just need to go through and go, go through a bunch of those details with you guys, because, there's quite a few of us. I don't know how many watchers we'll end up with today. We got about 350 people on right now, and we'll ultimately usually get up to around 1,000 on these streams. So anyway, okay, let's go ahead and dig into some markets here. Notice that the Russell is up again. And, I guess maybe we'll just start right here, because I've been really talking a lot about this trade and the leadership change. I've been rattling on for months on this thing. And I love all the trolls telling me, this trade's never going to work. It's working amazing, okay? And one thing for sure, you don't want to fade me when I put a spread trade out, because I'm an old spread trader from way, way back when. And these spread trades they're non-direct. This trade that I've been talking about, we'll just start here with the Russell. Russell's up 0.25%. We're printing 1,700. This is a daily chart here. I'll go through some technical details here. But when you put on a spread chart, depending on the type of relationship, what you're doing, it's a non-directional trade. It doesn't matter if the market's going up or down to make these spreads work. It's the differentials between the markets. And what I've been talking about for several months now, going back to at least July, that's the best I can figure out when I first started talking about leadership changes starting to occur. The patterns were setting up long before that, but this is a big event. And what you're seeing, this rotation, that the small caps are coming on, the mid caps are coming on, even the S&P on a regular basis versus the NASDAQ right now is outperforming. And, this is going to continue this way. The techs let us up. There's definitely still money to be played and to be made there. I'm not saying that, to outright short the NASDAQ or anything like that. But the spread relationship is something that's actually very, I hate to even use this word, healthy for the economy. It's telling us maybe there's I've seen a lot of talk around, and there is some legitimate talk on this, but zombie companies that probably shouldn't be in business that are. Well, that certainly hasn't happened. I know if you happen to be in New York or in a city or in a lot of cities, if you walk down a street, you're going to see a lot of businesses that are just gone. And they're not coming back, okay? But because of PPP and because of some of the stimulus, because of the stimulus, not some, of the stimulus done by the Fed and all the other fiscal things that have been done, there's a lot of businesses that probably shouldn't even exist right now. And I think over time, if capitalism is allowed to play its course, those folks will be eliminated, and there will be something new from this. And the favorite word, I was talking about this, I was talking to this friend of mine in Switzerland, and he used this word because this is the magic word that you're going to hear everywhere, is the reset. This is a reset. And if you went back in March and watched one of my videos, I made a video called Unintentional Consequences, which was socialism. And this is exactly what's happening. From the beginning, the COVID situation was a reason to reset. I saw Justin Trudeau talking with all the UN guys the other day, saying exactly that. This is an opportunity to reset. That word, you will hear more than you want to hear it. But that's what's going on, actually. The markets, the economies, all this stuff is getting reset. And this reset is a big thing, and it's real, and it's happening. And that's what we're seeing here now in the Russell is, we'll call it phase 2 of that, because this is what is
is the backdrop behind it. An old friend of mine used to always say, every time I think I know where I'm at, they change the background. Well, the background's being changed right now. The tech stocks are still going to be there. They're still going to be viable. There's still going to be things going on. NASDAQ's not going to zero. None of that's happening, okay? But what is happening is this rotation, and it's going to these secondary companies, the mid, the small caps, and ultimately, not to bring in I know a lot of folks think my idol is Kathy Wood. I think Kathy Wood's really smart. I may show you something today, but I'm working on a video, and I'm going to show you how I made, through using our software, Kathy Wood 3 times, maybe 4 times better than she ever thought she could be. And I will show you guys. I'll probably just say that for the video. I've been working on it for multiple days. It's going to be very interesting because we dissected everything, every thought that she's had, and utilized all the stuff she's doing. So markets are selling off a little bit. I'll go to that in a minute. So bear with me as I go on through this rotation idea. But the idea of this rotation that's going on from small cap, mid cap into small and mid is a big deal. And I'm working on some ways, probably the most likely way that we're going to do this. One of the services that we offer was we have a screening service, and looking at I'm going to actually look at some of those screens really in depth this weekend. And what I do, what I'm looking for is a way to detect which stocks are rotating in the small and mid cap. If you look at the Russell, you look at the MDY, IJR, any of those ETFs, look at the indexes themselves, they're all cap weighted. They all have the top end of each one of these is weighted. And so there's the opportunities are not necessarily in the cap weighted upper end of these indexes. They're in the middle, maybe even at the bottom of these things. So I'm working on trying to find a way for us to locate these things through improvements on balance sheets, some other metrics that we've looked at for over 20 years, and start to bring that out to the community at some phase. And we do have some of that going on because we do offer our screening service out there, which does go into that small and mid cap area and into those style boxes. The style box has a lot to do with the asset classes that you're dealing with and the range of assets. Okay, so anyway, but the point of all this, talking about this is if you're going to focus on something right now, this is one of the focus. And if you're an individual stock trader, yeah, Tesla's fun, Apple's fun, all that fun is out. And the fact that Tesla's, and we'll go into Tesla talking about it. I started mentioning it on a video after, they're going to be included in the S&P. That's not necessarily that big a deal. I know a lot of folks are going to make it a big deal. And of course, I'm starting to feel sorry for the Robinhood folks because they get beat up all the time. That's okay. I love that Robinhood exists. Actually, I actually am I trade on Robinhood, not exclusively, but I do have some things that I do on there, and I think it's a wonderful environment, getting a lot of young people involved in the markets. And it's not just gambling. In some cases, it is. But But if you're going to look for things, this is where you want to look. You want to look in these small and mid-cap areas. Okay. I think I always have to go on one of these rants. So if you're used to coming to this channel, you know that I'll get into one of these basically philosophical rant about fundamentals, about things that are happening and rotating. And that's where opportunities are. The opportunities aren't always what appears to be obvious. And earlier this year, what was obvious was real, and there was a lot of money to be made. There was a lot of money to be made in the NASDAQ and the stocks and the FANGs and lots of other stocks, the Zooms, and you guys know all the stocks because I know we're going to go through these yet today. Those are all the hot stocks. What I'm talking about is taking this community and let's start looking for those other stocks down at, not bottom fishing, but in the midpoint of the mid caps and the in the small cap area, we want to find those lower echelon stocks that can really move. We're talking triples and quadruples in those type of stocks. You know, we saw that in the Teslas, we saw it in a lot of stocks, but there's a bunch of this stuff out there, and we're not talking about penny stocks. We're not to go into that level, but I'll bring this out as we go forward in the weeks to come. That's exactly where I'm focusing in a lot of work. I know I haven't really been paying attention to the timeline, but I have institutional clients of mine that hang around the channel sometimes on the live, and I guided these folks back in 2009. I was hung up on multi-cap GARP, which is growth at a reasonable price. That strategy absolutely killed it. And then there was a couple other themes that I put out there over the years, and I'm pretty good about figuring this stuff out. I've been figuring this stuff out going way back into the 1980s, 1988, 89. I figured out some themes that were going there that absolutely played out in a big time. So this theme that I'm coming up with, this is from, you know, I always tell everybody, I could teach you everything I know, but I can't give you my experience. And the experience is just that you see these things happening, so then the job is to go in and dig and find where these things exist. So hopefully we can go. I'll give you an example. 1981, 82, I think it might have been. Worst case, 83. Sometime between 81 and 83. One of my clients was a CPA in I used to live in the Bay Area in California, and he came up and he told me this stock was going to be the most amazing stock that ever was going to be. It was going to be as big as Microsoft. He was going crazy. It was called Xilinx. They just got sold. That company was amazing. And I kept thinking about Jim and him telling me that, and I'm like, yeah. That's exactly what we're seeing here. This is a lot of what I'm going to mention Kathy Woods again. I actually really think she's brilliant, but you've got to keep looking for these ideas, and that's where the money's made. You know, the success she's had with her ETFs, there's not a lot of money in these things. They're not real big. A lot of people don't even know who she is. But the point is that you have to go and dig into these areas that I'm talking about. And so, you know, we've got, I don't know, 50, 70,000 plus people watching this channel every week. So if a few of you can grab onto this idea and we can start to build out some of the stuff on the community. We do have a Facebook community. I haven't done a lot with that lately. I'm just trying to organize a lot of things and figure out how to interact. But certainly there's some venues that we're trying to get together to get these ideas. I think I'm done. I'm trying to get off this rant. But we've now turned negative since while I was talking on Russell. But that means that the other markets are getting worse. So we're down 15 handles now. We're down to 35.91. So we're definitely seeing some weakness on the S&P come in. So let's dig into some of those things and see what we can take a look at. So here's the Russell. We're looking. Let me bring up some metrics so we can take a look at this stuff. Sorry, this screen's messed up. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, now you can see it a little better. Sorry about that. Some of my screens have changed in their sizing. We used it on a different computer yesterday. So anyway, so Russell's basically flat right now. And I love the CNBC badges. Just got one. Dow falls for a second day. I mean, you know, that's what they do is they create emotion. So that's exactly what's going on. Let's take a quick look. I want to look at. I believe I got this set up right. Man, everything is jacked up. Hang on one second. I just want to find. Here it is. I'll be really mad if I didn't save this chart last night. Bear with me. You know, I really didn't, which is really, really a shame. All right, I'll have to reset this up. So let's do this. All right. So this is the trade I wanted to show you. And I'm going to save this. But this is long the Russell, short, this is long IWM, which is the small cap. You could use your favorite there. And then this is the PSQ, which is the short 1 times NASDAQ. So back in June, if you put this on, you can see this trade has worked really well if you put it on in this methodology. If we look at just at what's going on with the actual 1-to-1 ratio with the indexes, here's MDY versus NASDAQ. You're not going to see that same kind of big move on the spread like you do if you go short the other side. This is just showing you the ratio between the two. But you can see this is the MDY. I believe this one will be this is the Russell. You can see it's done a little bit better, but these ratios continue to improve. So I think I've went through a lot of the detail here, and really this is also being driven by something else, which is by the general level of interest rates starting to increase. You know, and one of the things I mentioned in last night's video, I said I would also talk about here, was also this so-called housing bubble. I bet you if you wanted to look at probably the most produced video out there, it's probably going to be the 2021 housing bubble, the crash of 2021 in the markets. And you folks, you folks should know this by now, that if there's that many videos on that, there's 2 things you should know. If it's on zero hedge, it will never happen. And if it's on videos, like what we're seeing all over the place, I've seen just on my YouTube feed, what they're feeding to me is everything's telling me there's a housing, there's a bubble's going to burst next year, bubble's going to burst. There was some guy I used to follow on Twitter, and he just went for like 4 years from 2016 on. The stock market's a bubble, it's a bubble, it's a bubble. Every time it go down, he'd celebrate. So he must have been really celebrating early this spring. He's probably in depression or on antidepressant drugs by this time, after 4 years of this stuff. You know, there's never any reason to actually get hung up on an idea that this is how it's going to be. And I know a lot of folks on YouTube and other places out there, they get hung up. I get criticism for flip-flopping from day to day, but I guess folks forget when you watch my channel, it's daily commentary. So what I thought was happening yesterday, depending on what's going on tonight or when I'm doing my video, it tells me what the likelihood is for the next day. And like I always say, let's take a look at the charts see what they're telling us for the next day, not for next week, not next year, but the next day. So, I talked about last night that I thought we'd see more sideways to down, and we're seeing the down right now. The S&P down 12 handles, trading down to 96. There's some pretty key support numbers here that we need to pay attention to. But this whole rotation is a big deal, and it has everything to do with interest rates and the yield curve, a lot of stuff. So, yeah, Jose, I don't know what you did, but naughty. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, Jay, you'll have to tell me about that later. You guys, yeah, so, it's tough. It's tough being in a public venue like this, So anyway, I do what I do, and I do it well, and I present that to you, and I appreciate a lot of you folks that watch the channel. I mean, we're, 26,000 subscribers, never bought one. You guys showed up because you like what I do, and I'm going to keep doing what I do. That's what I'm good at. I've been doing this a long time. Let's go ahead and let's flip over and let's take a look at what's going on in SPX here, just to get a view of what's happening. As drastic as it feels, let's look at the market grid. I see there's one of my yeah. I knew when I did the Bitcoin video last night that I told Mason last night when we put that thumbnail together. I said we're going to get hammered by the Bitcoin bots. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. So what we're looking at, the key area, and I've talked about this a lot, is 10-day moving average. Somebody said it's critical 35.20, and you're not going to see 35.20, at least not at the moment. That could come into play. But right now, the PPM1 is at 0.43. The 10-day moving average is 35.64. It's rising at 15 handles. That will be 35.75 tomorrow. And as long as this thing doesn't break below 0.15 on the PPM, then the probabilities are going to tell you it will hold that number. And that's where I'm looking to do a buy against, is that next number will be that 10-period moving average. And that's exactly, thanks, Carl K. Appreciate it, man. I know that. But this pattern that's unfolding here is pretty significant. The 10-period moving average could continue to lose its momentum. It's starting, I mentioned this on last night's video, that what we're seeing here is some breakdown of some of the momentum. The fact that we went through the first derivative a lot of times will be a precursor to much more weakness. So we could develop weakness. But this pattern, as it turns out, and I did something on one of the videos, and maybe I'll show you this. I think I can do it really easy without messing anything up. But if I go to a line chart here, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this or not. Let me see if I can blow this up just so you can see what this looks like. You can see the green line in the middle. That is just the close only price, right? So all we're seeing is the close. You can see it's just stair stepping. You don't see the big spike that we saw last Monday when we printed 36.45 on the cash. You don't see that number, and really what that's telling us is that that spike, when you look at it, becomes an emotional data point. And and I do think it's significant. I think the fact that on Monday we're only able to trade up to the 27. What was that number? Let's see what that number is. We traded 28 on the S&P, printed 45 last week. So we've got a little bit of a pattern, but it makes sense. This is most likely a minor corrective pattern that we're going through. You got rising moving averages through the pattern. Typically, this is going to resolve itself by printing higher numbers. And I talked about, I think a week ago or so, some of these breakout numbers and things that are out there. So there's quite a bit to talk about today, and to be able to try to put some context around everything that's going on. And like I said, what I'm looking for here is not a point to sell, but a point to buy on the S&P. We printed 91 low. I think just looking at the lows, we printed 88 on Tuesday. We just printed 91. And like I said, tomorrow that moving average is up 15 handles, so that'll be 70. It'll be 80 tomorrow. I said 70, whatever I said earlier, it's 80. And Bruce is just saying that, you know, the S&P is consolidating. That's exactly what's going on. This is a consolidation level. This is a much different look than if we even went back here in the middle of the page. I'll put a cursor over here. Is going back to that September 2nd high that we got, and there was never any structure around that. This time we got a high, we retraced, we retested, now we're coming back and setting up a pattern, and that's what consolidation, and like I said this, I know before on the live streams, is one of the things that you have to wonder. This is the age-old question. Is it a consolidation or is it distribution? Distribution means it's a top. Consolidation means it's just a hesitation before moving up. But the realities of this pattern is it's more positive than bearish. And those of you that watch the channel, which I suspect a lot of you do, is one of the things I talk about all the time is the database from the WaveTech database. It's moved up to 66% bullish again. And I've also talked about another factor. In fact, why don't I just bring that up because I think it's relevant here. Bear with me 1 second. We'll bring this up. Okay, so what we've got here is the the intermediate database is 65% long. If I flip this over to a daily, you're going to see it's basically the same. It's 66% long. And the other factor that we have to look at, we have a lot of metrics on our database, and this is important to understand because you look at the metrics over here on the right, just above me here, you'll see that the average days long on the optimized daily models are 40 days. Right now, the average days are 11, so we still have roughly 30 more days to go. But we also look at the average profit at 11%. The average profit right now is 4. And this is just for a 40-day period. And this is the average on 16,000 symbols. So these numbers normalize quite a bit. You can see that even just on the index level below, as I bring that up, is you'll see that you'll see these are on an index level what's going on. In 8 days, the basic materials is up 6%. And you see how many days. These are the days that have been held. And it also tells us over here how many days it normally holds. So basic materials is long 46 days. So one of the things, and I'll just tell you, one of the things of having this tool as part of your trading is actually knowing when a trade's on, understanding the duration and the expectation by every symbol is incredibly powerful. And I know there's a lot of folks that are out there using this tool now, and it gives you an insight into what's going on and lets you take a lot of the noise out of the market. And that's what why I built this product many years ago. This is an old ancient product that we put out to the public. We are working on rebuilding this thing and making it really, really cool. But for now, it does everything it's supposed to do. Lets you know when to buy and sell. It also gives you all the metrics, and it also builds a map for everything that you're doing there. So it's pretty simple to get to, because all you have to do is, and I'm going to put this up here. I'm not ending the show, but this is where you go to sign up. Kendall report. This is where you go to sign up. Go to Kendall report /WaveTech, and we also have our other product out. Just doing a quick actual promo, but the reason for that is this is exactly why you want this, is to have this context of what's going on with these symbols, what the expectation is. So going back to the analysis side is when I can look at 16,500 symbols. In this case, in this database right now, if we look at what's long, it's telling us that 10,899 symbols have trends, uptrends. This is a long only process, so it's only telling you when the stocks are going up, right? It's not a speculative platform. It was built to manage retirement funds and other investment money. And so what's happening here is that there's 10,900 symbols that are in trends of some sort at different levels. So when you hear me talk about on the channel that, the configuration and the database is forward looking, this is 10,000 symbols that have that 30-day forward looking. Some will last, some won't. But on bulk, around between 55 and 65% of these symbols will end up making money. If you just look at the indexes, in 8 days, many of these are already up 6-8%, and these are composite indexes. They're like ETFs. There's literally, in basic materials, if I go to the research on basic, let me just bring that up. I'll just show you real quick here. Go to research and go to basic materials, and basic materials has 250 symbols in it. 62% of them are long. So 60% of all of the symbols in basic materials, and I can break it down to industry groups, all of that stuff, we can break down every one of them. 67% of all the chemical manufacturing are long. So what this does is gives us, this is why I'm able to make these calls and talk about the forward-looking viewpoint. And on a weekly basis, as we start to look at intermediates and we go back into the charts here, this all carries out. These symbols are part of the environment. It's not just the top weighted S&P. I keep arguing for months. Everybody's saying 5 stocks are driving the market. No, they're not. I just showed you 10,000 symbols, and if I went over to the intermediate, I'd show you another 10,000 plus symbols that are actually in uptrends. And some of them are doing much better than many of the stocks that you know about. You just, and that's the beauty of everything. And so, anyway, that's exactly what we're, when I'm talking about looking forward in these indexes, how to extrapolate out what do all these trends mean relative to what we're seeing in the technicals. And this is what I do every day. And the real context is for our software users. That's the way it's always been. I used to write daily commentary behind a firewall just for our institutional clients. That's what I've done for literally over 22 years. And I've been writing that commentary every day. When the markets got complicated in February, I started doing daily YouTube videos. I opened them up to the public. You're welcome. This is why we're all here right now, because I've exposed my work and I appreciate everything to go on. And now yield curve will not invert. No. Anyway, Anyway, yeah, I'm just taking a look at some of the comments. Yeah, and James, you're right. Most of the market is above the 200-day moving average, right? This dark line down at the bottom here, that's the 200-day moving average on the S&P. That line, whenever I go, if I change this to a weekly chart, that line down at the bottom is the 200-week moving average. And if we go over here and look at a monthly graph, this is way down here is a 200-month moving average. And it was interesting because it just back up to the weekly for a second. If you look back on the weekly, going back to 2019 and that move that we saw, it's way over on the left-hand side of the screen. That fourth quarter sell-off that we saw in 18 ended up exactly at the 200-week moving average. 200-week moving average was 25.74. The low was, let me make sure I got the right numbers here. Yeah, the low was 23.46. It was 25.58. It's way down at the bottom. I was looking at the STX number. But yeah, so 22.58 was the 200-week moving average back in December. Remember the Christmas present? This was the low that was rendered the week of Christmas. And so the low was 23.46. So we came pretty close to it. It was not an exact hit, but we came down to that 200-day moving average. We went through it last spring, rebounded back above it, and now here we are. And that's the other thing, just looking at this weekly chart here, we're continuing to see all of the moving averages are up. PPM 1, 0.76, 0.84, and 0.17. When I talk about the PPMs, many of you that watch the channel for a while know what I'm talking about here. And what I'm talking about is the PPMs tell us the angle or the rate of ascent or descent, if it's a downtrend, of the trend. So that tells us not only that it's a rising trend, but it also tells us the probabilities at that number. And now the 10-week moving average on the SPX right now is 34.35. It's well below the market. It's rising about 30 handles, roughly about 27 handles per week. And so that number's going to be the major support. Somebody said 35.20. I would argue 34.35 is major support. Whether 35.20 means something or some other number, I think I think that number moves. I'm not big on holding on to a number. Sometimes there are numbers that are significant enough that need to be plotted out. And, you know, that's exactly it. If you notice, we're back above 3,600 now, and we trended down to 91. So while I was rattling on about that, we rallied 10 handles in the S&P. So we saw a nice recovery. No one's looking to sell this thing right now, in spite of all the crud that they're throwing around on the street and trying to, whatever they're trying to do. Let's face it, the media, if it had any validity or any credibility, is certainly out the wall. It's off the table completely. These guys are looking for clicks, they're selling, right? But yeah, so we're only down 8 handles here, so we completely rebounded. If we go over to level 2 here for a second, yeah, you can see nothing, no real big deal, but we are seeing a decent rebound at the moment. And this is the weekly graph, so we go back over to daily. Daily's working the grid. S2 today, 3592.21. So far, the high's been 19, the low's been 91. We printed R1, S1. I talked about this last night. I thought, R1, S2. That was the projections from last night's video. that we would go probably R1, maybe as low as S2. And I would say we probably, what time we got? We got an hour to go in the market, so we're pretty much done, I think, from that standpoint. Yeah, Lori, I wish I knew what a bull flag consolidation was. I'm not big on those things. I read Edwards and McGee, worst book I ever read, worst book I wasted my time with. But the, yeah, but it's basically, I am an Elliottian, so I would, I guess you can call it a flag of a sort. But the structure of the market is what I talked about early on, is that's exactly what's going on, is this thing's consolidating. It's working. It's trying to figure out how to take out this high here. Let's put up some numbers here. That just kind of triggered me into a place. Let's throw up some Fibonacci objectives here. So let's go to the weekly time frame. 1 second. Yeah, these are crazy numbers that are up here. The high-end projections from this pattern suggest 4,600 minimum S&P. Doesn't sound like a housing crash is coming. And I brought this up before. If you looked, I think 2 or 3 of my last 5 videos that I've done, my daily commentary, have had bullish or upward looking thumbnails saying market to move higher. Anything like that gets a half of, probably about 60% of the normal views I get. If I say the market's going to go down, I'll get 30,000 views on a video, just because that's what everybody wants to hear. There's so much of a bias out there, and it's really obvious. I went through every video since last March when I started doing daily videos and looked at them, and by far anything that was negative did way better from a view standpoint than anything else. So that kind of tells you that markets aren't probably going down right now. And it was also that's something, if you have the CNBC app, I can pretty much, it'd be interesting to, let me see if I can, I want to see if I can bring up this badge. Yeah, 28 minutes ago, okay, CNBC sent out a Dow falls for second day after hitting a record, down 135 points. If I wasn't on this live stream, I would have bought on that thing. Those guys are so good at calling the low. Sometimes big days, not the case, but on a day like today, I guarantee you, if we go back, let's do it. I got to do this because I just think it's interesting. So if you want to see when to do stuff, hang with me 1 second. So 28 minutes was about, see what are we here? Yeah, right where my cursor is right now, right here, was when that badge came out. If you'd have bought then, you'd have done pretty good. You would have sold on this last little rally. But the point is, these guys, it's amazing how accurate they are. So I'm just yeah, so we get a pretty quick retracement on a 1 minute graph here. We backed up. We printed up to 01, back to 99, but anyway. So yeah, D is Mr. Kendall. Everyone's going giddy over Tesla in addition to S&P 500. Do you remember the split Remember what I told you folks on the split? In fact, I put a video out right the day of the split to short Apple. It was a great trade. These are not necessary. These don't mean anything. They're just news, right? It's not going to do anything for Tesla because they're in there. Well, there'll have to be some allocations to Tesla because of it to include in the Vanguard indexes. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what Tesla's overall weight is in the index. I'll research that. I'll make a note to myself on that. So I would like to know, but I doubt if it's not very much on a big scheme of things. So yeah, it's not that big a deal, you know. And I get that people are kind of on that mode as far as Tesla goes, but it's just like with the split. I mean, anybody bought that split in Apple, they're talking to themselves right now. Same thing with Tesla. They took these stocks and they took the largest, in Apple's case, they took the largest capitalized company on the planet and quadrupled the amount of stock that was available. Which way did it go? It went down. So, yeah, so let's do this. I think what my plan is here is to take a very brief break. We've got about an hour to go. What I like to do is we'll start going through some individual stocks. So before I do that, let's go ahead and you folks start giving me some stocks and for the next round here. As always, great job, folks. You overload this thing. All right, let me get some of these. All right. Got quite a few here, so let's hold up on the additional stocks. Let me get a few more. There's a lot to get through here. So I'm actually finding some names that are going, hey, Trailmatic, how's it going, man? All right, let me look up a couple of these things, and we'll get on this straight away. All right, so let's go ahead and start with, I guess I'm going to start here just because it was on video last night. We pretty much printed the objective one last night. We got a big reversal going in Bitcoin, down 4%. 18,378 was the number. If I bring up the weekly, the first target was 18,423. So we basically hit target one. So we're getting a nice reaction off of that level. Little clickbait, 23,000 is the upper end of the range that is expected there. So it looks to me that, Bitcoin got pretty excited. We're back below the grid from it's Wednesday. So if we stay below 14,000, or let me get the right number here. So if we stay below 17,879, that would be a positive thing for this week. So we're at 17,657, printed 18,378. You see these dots above up here. These are the objectives. Let me bring that on screen so you can see that. When I click on these numbers, you'll see the high target in this pop-up box, 18,423. That got satisfied. That was target one. Target two, 21,678. 23,721 is extreme. We go back and just step back from this thing a little bit. We did get the RXT sell yesterday, and we're down, but we're also trading at the lower end of the trading band or the market grid, which is at STX 17,361, low 17,240. So we printed a STX on the downside on Bitcoin. So that is interesting. Like I said, this chart rolls over. I didn't know this number when I did the video last night. I did talk about that a lot of times the RXT sell signals don't play out. There's a lot of momentum. But I just want you to see just Bitcoin's such a unique, different market to be involved in. And a 24-hour cycle is big, and especially since it doesn't really stop. It maybe slows down a little bit between, Friday afternoon here in the U.S. to maybe Saturday evening. Maybe for about 24 hours, there's kind of a lull there. But yeah, so you can see PPMs are all rolled over here. If you look at them, let me get out of the way so you can see that a little better. But yeah, so the PPMs rolled over almost instantly, but there's still big numbers. PPM ones actually rolled over first, second derivative. So we're probably going to consolidate up here. And the 10 period moving average is going to be in play. It is right now it's at 16,338, running about 200 points per day. So by Friday, that thing will be pushing just above 16,800, 17,000. That's going to be your key level to play off of. So possibly you could play into here. We did hit that first objective on the weekly, satisfied it perfectly. So we'll have to watch this one a little closer. So digging into some of these stocks, there's quite a few that you folks threw at me here. And I'll start off with PLTR. And this thing is another. There's a couple symbols out there. It's daily. There's not a lot of info on this, and it's pretty tough to read right now. But all I can give you on this stock is the market grid that's on the page here for today, and that looks like it'll probably contract a little bit, but these numbers will be relative probably into tomorrow maybe. But you can see here the S1 1744, the low so far 1754, the high 1925, basically R3 S1 kind of range so far today. I I would think if we close lower on this chart today, that you'll see maybe some more downside moving down toward maybe the 16 handle, 1610 or so. Not a lot more I can do with that one. It's come up several times on the screen. I guess Kodak must be back in play again. I don't know. Let me see if I can blow this up and get any kind of view here. Yeah, I don't know what to say about this one. Yeah, I can't even come up. This is the daily. You know, it's moved up. I guess the best thing we could say here is that you're still in a negative ppms, a lot of resistance right here at 727. Be lucky if it can stay above the grid here, maybe move back toward the 200-day moving average 514. Doesn't look positive, but who knows with this thing. Really not much to read. PPMs are trying to turn up. Just a really tough read. So I put it up there, just it's been asked for several times. Interesting chart here. WBA Walgreen Boots Alliance. This thing is gapping all over the place. Interesting, we're above and below the grid almost the last 6 days of trading. Let me go weekly, see what this doesn't look like it's going to get better, but yeah. Some positive readings, but very mixed. It looks to me, if anything, you'll see this stock move back toward probably the 10-day moving average 37.27, probably lock 37.27 to 41, something like that. Got to do NEO because that comes up every week. NEO is, I remember talking about this last week when we got this big spike. This is going to go into, we'll call it the Tesla pattern. I'll go through Tesla next. And I know somebody was saying they're going to hold it until they're 65. Maybe so. I don't know. Maybe that's a good idea. I guess if you were 35 and said that on Microsoft or Apple back in the day, that would have worked pretty good. There's a lot of stocks in shoe boxes in the old days that were stocks that people were going to hold like that. But the NEO this is a weekly chart. It's going to be range bound, and I'm just going to put it out a big range. This week so far we've had a 41, 49 range, basically R1, S1. I would expect to see maybe R1, S2, maybe move down into 38. This thing's going to go random in this pattern. Let's take a look at the dailies and see if there's anything there on this one. Yeah, I'm glad I went to daily. So the 10-day moving average is what I call the demand line, and this suggests that we're going to see it will continue to climb along this line. We've got a 1.7% advance on the PPM1, but it is starting to fade through its first, second derivative, so the momentum's going to start to bleed off. So R1 48.39, possibly as low as 40.78. So you could see some downside on this. You know, I've seen a lot of comments around places I've hung out. I think the last live stream I did, there was some things going there as well, with people talking about NEO to 100. Yeah, not right now. It looks like to me, going back to the weekly before we move on, is that you're going to be range bound, and this is going to be, I'm going to make a 4-6 week plus type range that you're likely to see here. Okay. CrowdStrike. This would. Oh, I said I was going to go to Tesla next. Let's do Tesla. Because that when I was talking about the Tesla pattern here, this is what I was referencing. Is that we get into? I just want you to look at this far edge that I pulled over. This is what when we were looking at the previous stock, is that we get into these range-bound environments, and Tesla saw what you usually get is just what Tesla did is we got this contraction of and this is a weekly chart we're looking at Tesla. We got a contraction of this, and that 10-week moving average, I talked about that last week, that demand line, we're continuing to hover around there, and the reason for that, we're at a 0.85, so market's going to move in and around this. Now we've broken above the RXT number on a weekly, so we're finally breaking out of this pattern. What will happen if we close on Friday above 460, then you're going to see at least it move back into around maybe 420, 396 range. I don't know. That's even getting far-fetched. Let's go to the daily. I think I might be able to figure out something a little. Yeah, see, daily, everything's blowing up on this thing. And a lot of folks are going crazy on this S&P thing. And like I said, I'm going to research that. I made a note to myself that I want to make sure. I want to make sure that I understand what the actual dollar weighting, what the capitalization rating is in the S&P, and if that is the trade, then the trade's over, and maybe that's what we're going to see. But looking at market grid, looking at everything, we've got huge acceleration again, so that this trade could go on, with the exception if we close above this RXT number, the actual market grid is going to turn up sharply, and so we're going to go into that range, and the market grid says that it will go in that. And I believe we had some issues with market grid. I believe Tesla is still on. I'm just bringing up our website. I just want to see if Tesla's on the market grid. So if you're a market grid user, it possibly be there, but this number is going to upslope, and there is some pretty serious acceleration here for sure. So the moving averages are all going to turn up. Everything's going to turn up. So if I were going to do anything short term, I would actually probably use just a 10-day moving average trailing stop, maybe just below that number. You could go to the 21, and that would probably keep you in the trade if we're going to see a new trend emerge from here. If you have to understand, okay, also, if you believe Tesla is going to go up because of, let me just see here, it just came up. I'm just bringing up something here. Bear with me. Yeah, so Tesla, if you have the market grid, this on my phone, you can, it does have all the numbers there, so you'll have the market grid to play off of on that level. And what are we? We're mid-month, so it's like $50 to get the market grid for the rest of the month if you sign up today. Remember, kendallreport.com/wavetech, and you can sign up and you get access to all that stuff and then some. But yeah, so that market grid is going to be important from the standpoint of what you're likely to, if you're trading around this stock. If you're holding it, then absolute worst case is use a 21-day moving average, and that'll be all you'll need to do from that standpoint. All right, let's keep going down this list. What time we're getting to be? 20 after. Let's go to, I want to do two things. I want to go to Boeing. One of the things, I'm going over to Portfolio Expert for a second here. And one of the things that happened the other day, okay, is we got buys across the board, and I took Boeing out of this portfolio, but we've got buys across the board on all the airline stocks. So if I look at my open positions on this run here, you're going to see that we bought all of them, American, Allegiant, Alaska, Delta, so forth, and most of them are up between 1 and 4%. A couple are negatives. Spirit is not working well. It's down 4% right now, down 1% on American, but all the others are working pretty good. When I look at the summary of this portfolio, we're looking, this week was up as down 0.3. Last week we were up 4.3% on this portfolio, just holding this. So let's go and take a look at Boeing. It kind of triggered me to that portfolio. So I'm going to go back to here as well. Hang on. Let's bring up Boeing on a short-term basis. So Boeing, from our modeling viewpoint, hang on, it's just coming up. Boeing, from the modeling viewpoint, we bought Boeing at 156, so we're already up 34%. This was bought on on the 6th of November. This is when this entry price was signaled. So if you're a WaveTech user, you already got that. That's part of the gain that's going on. The portfolio gain that I was just showing you is based on the allocation to the portfolio. So that was certainly a good stock. Did not show, like I said, this stock has been choppy. I decided to take it out. This is one of those, like I was talking about, I wanted the airline portfolio to be pure airlines that were business models and airlines, not other elements from there's probably another portfolio. I know Jay is listening. He'd probably come up, maybe already has something that would be relative to industry, like airline industry strategy versus just having the all the components, just then having the individual airlines themselves. But Boeing was a signal at 156. And we go back and just look at the analysis of this stuff. We're looking at big reversal today off the extremes. We're looking at the RXT number 221.82. The high has been 223.02, so we traded just above the RXT, and now we're back into the range. So it's given up a lot of the gains that we saw earlier. But overall, this stock is trending. PPMs are all up. If we go over to the weekly, you'll see that that's also we also printed through the extremes. So a lot of times when these stocks go from these low volatility ranges and then they get this pop, that thing happens. Now, I'm going to put you folks in on the futures to watch them trade. I literally have a call that's going to take me probably less than 2 minutes. I need to answer this call. I didn't want to do it while I was in the middle of talking, but just give me a minute and I will be right back on. So watch the futures trade for a minute and I'll be right back.
Hey, Rhonda, about Kendall. Pretty good. What's up?
Good. I have a couple things to talk to you about.
Okay,
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so did you get that affidavit of financial information I sent to you
I-
last week? And
I don't know what happens. I get things that are already filled out. There's nothing for me to fill out. I don't know. I guess I don't know what to do.
okay, so that's your previously filed AFI.
Right.
So what I need you to do with it is go through, look at it, and tell me, is everything the same?
I got it. Okay,
Has
I will do
anything
that.
changed?
You need that by Friday, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and you can write it in.
Okay, all right, I will do
Write
that.
it in, whatever.
Got it.
Okay. If you could do that, that would be awesome because I need that for trial.
Got it. I figured that. Go ahead.
Number two, most important thing is I just got an email from Diane Sullivan
Yeah.
that said the motion to continue and motion to join have both been denied.
Correct.
That's awesome.
It really is.
It's awesome. I don't have the orders yet, but I at least wanted to get to you and say, hey, I just got this. I literally got it like minutes ago. That
No,
what I'm hearing is that we're still going to trial and Sherry's not part of it.
exactly. And what I'm hearing is Deborah's history and going to be moving from her house. I hate to be, you know what, I'm sorry, I hate to, that's not who I am. I took care of her for a big piece of her life, and I hate, to be honest with you, I hate that the house is going down and I can't give her the money from the house, because that was my intention. I'm actually a really good person, and I actually meant, I wish I could follow through on that, and it's disappointing that I was, didn't know that loan was what it is. It's very disappointing to me. And I am actually working with the mortgage company. I've got a call into them right now, and this is what's happening there is they have to offer me a modification before they will do a short sale. So they're going to offer me something, right? I paid nearly $700,000 in interest. I would hope that somebody goes, you know what, this guy paid $700,000, got no benefit. Why don't we knock down his interest? Why don't we knock down his mortgage balance to, I don't know, 400,000 and do a new loan? If they did that, Rhonda, my plan would be is to take the loan modification under one condition, that Deborah agrees to sell the house. She needs to move out, okay? And I will get the house to it sellable so that we can harvest whatever money we can from it. And the only monies I want are my expenses, which to sell it. She can have every dime. If it's 200, 300,000, 150,000, it's all hers, and I'm done. See you later. Have a nice life. I don't know that that's going to happen. My expectation is that they're not going to do that, and I'm just going to go ahead with the short sale. But my dream is before I talk to them that something like that would happen. And I think that would, and I would love to be able to make that offer. The offer of kicking her ass out on the street and laughing about it doesn't make me feel good, because she's still the mother of my children. So that doesn't make me feel good.
I don't picture that. Yeah, I don't see that you're a bad guy. You're just put in a situation that
She brought this on.
You're not. Yeah, she's not willing to do anything, and you're trying to work with her and whatnot. And I mean, I guess she's probably scared. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, I think
anyways,
what I've seen so far.
I don't have any orders to confirm any of that. I'm just telling you what the email said.
Yeah, I heard from Diane. Sherry, I woke up with Sherry all upset because Gillespie wrote another letter, and I go, honey, those are like emails from Deb. You don't read them. There's nothing, and basically what came out of this, she was all upset. And Diane said this morning that the motion to continue the hearing was denied, okay, which is good. And I can't imagine, because Gillespie's entire premise was we need a continuance so that we can deal with this other situation. So I'm assuming that both are in play. What I heard from Sherry earlier today, maybe Diane's getting information since I left for the office this morning.
to different than that. So that sounds good, though. I'll be glad to see when we actually have the orders that say that.
Yep, I was gonna say, so don't, like, I
Oh.
don't have anything to confirm it, so if it comes back different, I'm just telling you what I've heard, so, but I can't imagine it,
Yeah.
like, if the judge said, if the JA told her it's gonna be denied,
Yeah.
I can't imagine it being any different, but we'll see, as soon as I get those orders, I'll get them.
Yeah, and so what it also means is everything to this point that Deborah has tried to get has failed. Going all the way back to when I missed the hearing and the $10,000 and everything. So yeah, anyway. So I'm just thrilled.
Yeah, I'm thrilled too. I mean, there was our story and then, hers, and the judge looked at everything, because, everybody attached their documents.
Yep.
That's
Well, that's what I told Sherry. Sherry's all upset. She goes, I need to rebut this. I go, no. Your rebuttal is the proof of the source of funds. You don't need, you've already done it. You have evidence.
Right.
You don't need to do it.
Right.
You're
And
fine.
it doesn't matter if she got it when her aunt was alive or after she passed away. It doesn't matter. It was a gift.
It was a gift.
Gift or inheritance.
Correct.
She's not married to you, so what's the difference to it?
It doesn't make sense. And this is what I've been telling Sherry, the poor thing. I woke up on the baby this morning. I wake up and she's sitting here looking at her iPad and she's curled up and she's like shaking. She's so upset. I'm like, honey, don't let him do this. I told all my children, Rhonda, that know your truth. No one can make you something you're not, ever, no matter what they say. Know your truth. And that's why I told Sherry, go, honey, you know the truth, you have evidence. That's all they got. So it's sad for them, and it's sad that Gillespie's wanting to take Deborah's money on this bullshit. Not to their order.
Let's try to settle it. But I'm sure that they've got to represent their client, and okay,
Well, so I don't know if Terry's worked on that offer that I put together, but I think we should just try to get him to do that and save the time and the cost of the hearing.
Yeah, I don't know fight on it, but we'll see.
Well, if they don't, they're gonna get everything at, like any liability to IRS and anything else with this house, you can share in it all then. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
You have a nice, yeah. So anyway, all right, well, thanks for the call. Let me know if you will, and I will go through that document later this afternoon and have it back to you. I was unsure how to update that. I'm like, well, I can't actually edit any of these things, so. But I'll verify.
Write on it and send it back, or just email me, here's the changes, so I can make them and then get it back to you for signature.
Sounds awesome. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, everyone. Sorry about that. All right. Yeah, I leave you guys to the market and it sells off, and we're down 22 handles now. You guys are supposed to hold this thing up while I was gone. So we're trading 83. We're through the lows that I talked about the other night. So we're definitely seeing some pressure coming in here. We've got about 36 minutes to go. We're punching new lows out as we speak. And so yeah, it was a Runa deal. No, I'm sorry. That was not supposed to take that long. Yeah, I'm sorry. You guys probably, I'm looking at some of these comments. I thought I had the sound off. So at least I was far enough away. Anyway. Unbelievable. Okay. Yeah, so we sold down to 78. Know your truth. I guess you guys heard more than I wanted you to hear. Oh, man. I'm dealing with an ex-wife. How's that sound? You guys like that? Evil. But anyway, I'm excited. Very excited. Yeah, so we're down 25 handles here. Just try to get back into script. Yeah, I'm just looking at some lines, see what's going on, other than the fact that you guys now know your truth. I've told that to Jay and every one of my kids, by the way. Always know your truth, folks. Know who you are. Yeah, so S&P down to 84. Let's take a look at some of these other charts real quick here, just to get in context with what's going on. Let me get this so this chart looks a little better. Bear with me a second, folks. It's hard to live stream and have a life, right? I love you folks, man. It's awesome. I love this channel. Anyway, yeah, so as we look at SPX weekly here, the numbers that are coming into play here are 3538 is the first S1 number on a weekly. So far we printed an R1 31 high. The high's 28. I talked about that on last night's video. So we're in this sideways range here. You know, it's not very dramatic at all, and in fact we're trading down to 81 here, the low 80.13. So we're still trying to print down some of these lower numbers. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just reading this line again. So manifesting, who's Bell Partners? Is that some big leasing guy? Go to daily chart here on, so we're trading down close to STX. 80 is last tick. We're trading at the lows of the day, and we're looking at the 35.74.90 is STX today. PPM 1 is now 0.39. It was 0.42, so it's lost a little bit more. Definitely got plenty of momentum. That number will be into play tomorrow right off of the bat. Yeah, in fact, just at STX down here, went ahead and just put a little position on down here because I think this is going to be a pretty good spot to play off of. Like I said, I was still looking for a point to buy, not a point to sell. No, I didn't do Amazon. Let's do Amazon. Amazon down 0.65 daily. It actually reminds me a lot of the how gold looks. Actually, we're trading just below the averages. PPM1's rolling over. Everything's rolling over. We're going to have to go to the weekly to actually make any sense of this. Yeah, Derek, I'll take a look at that and see what we got here. Yeah, so Amazon is getting, man, this is almost like exactly the gold chart. It's 10-week moving average is crossing through a rising upward 21-week moving average. That 21-week moving average 31.50, last trade 31.16, so we're below that. And we're looking at S1 30.53, low 30.72. So S1, R1 is basically the range this week. I don't see what is that there's going to be any expansion beyond this. But it looks like if with PPM1 trying to turn up here, we should hold this S1 number 30.53 and maybe be able to print back above 3,200 on this thing. So there may be an opportunity here. Like I said, not much when we go back to the daily for a minute to really look at. We got about 15 minutes to the close, so we'll start to focus in on that. Yeah, manifesting, I'm just trying to... okay, so there are... So I'm just looking at your post here. So they're chapter 11. I'll have to research that. I don't know enough about them. Yeah, so I did UPRO on the Pro shares. Just bought some of those. Gonna hold them overnight. Yeah, we'll see how we can finish up here. I suspect we'll see a little short covering into the close. Yeah, I covered, yeah, so once again, yeah, we got, I know these numbers feel big. Looking at the NASDAQ futures, we're right down to that 11,914. We're right on the 10-period moving average. We've been talking about this for days. We are seeing the momentum roll a little bit on this. The S1 number, 11,935, so we've traded just below that number. Next number, these are all numbers that I discussed on the last night's video. 11,890 is your extreme, and this thing is just locked in this little narrow sideways range here. Most likely, somebody's talking about smart money. What you see normally at this time of the session is a lot of ETFs and mutual funds squaring their books up. It has little to do with what they're doing with money, like they know what direction the market's going. It's based on rebalancing their mutual funds, rebalancing the ETFs based on sell orders. So it does reflect market forces that are going on. And I went through Boeing in detail just a little bit ago. Sorry you missed that. It will be available on the replay. I know Jay's keeping track of all the timelines and when I'm covering different things. But yeah, so little bit of a bounce here. Let's go over to a 1 minute NASDAQ futures for a minute here. So yeah, we're last 4 or 5 minutes, we're starting to see a little bit of, they're trying to buy this thing up a little bit, not a lot going on here. Maybe we'll stick with this chart for a few minutes to see how it plays out. The 10-period moving average is right above it, and that's at 34. We're trading 24 right now, so we're about 10 handles under that. This thing changes pretty quickly, so we'll see how this thing sets up in the next couple of bars here. But yeah, we'll once this market closes up, we'll go through some oils and stuff. I'll spend another 15, 20 minutes after the close. I know we got later than normal start, and like I said, going forward, I'm going to start these things at 2 o'clock Eastern time. Yeah, so when is earnings coming out? Let's take a look at that real quick here. Let me flip over. I see somebody. We want to get a look before earnings. Ross Stores. Yeah, I mean, retail's been pretty good, right? If it comes out like, this is interesting. We got the big gap RXT sell. We went sideways for 2 or 3 days, back up. I suspect that a lot of this action in this stock is based on, how Target did, and everybody's trying to adapt to this new business model. Yeah, I'm just looking at a couple things here just as we come into the close, just trying to get. Yeah, so we're still seeing this thing print down here a little bit. We're getting new lows here on the futures down to 73. Yeah, so no bounces in here at all. So we're down 1%, still punching new lows on the futures here. So this is setting up a classic pattern. A classic pattern against the 10-day moving average. Still printing lows here. We're still punching them out. New lows again, 69 prints. So heavy selling coming in here. Trying to find a low. Not really getting anything. I want to take a look at something over here. I think I can bring up. Yeah, so this is not the right one. Yeah, or is it? Oh, it is. It is. This is that that spread trade. So it's down ticking a little bit on the ratio right now, just a touch. But 68 printed low, we're trading 70s now, back to 68. It doesn't look like they're done with them just yet. Yeah, here's the famous CNBC badge just came through. Sell-off accelerates in final minutes of trading, Dow down more than 300 points. So let's see if they can call the low at the end of the session here. They're pretty good. Yeah, so down 35 handles. We got 6 minutes to go. We'll stay with this level 2 as we come into the close here. Just watch the close together and see if we can get a feel for how this thing's setting up. It's pretty ugly at the moment. Like I said, we printed 68.75 lows, 70.70 25. We'll see if we can set up any type of even moderate low pattern here. As always, the last 2 minutes of the cash and the first 2 minutes after are important. Yeah, there may be manifesting. I'm just looking at some of your comments here. There's going to be a lot of foreclosures and other elements coming out of this craziness that we've been going through. But these are knowns for the most part. These aren't anything new. There's plenty of people especially in the commercial real estate space, that are very aware of what's going on with these malls and very aware with what's going on in the in the rental space, whether it's multifamily, what have you. Yeah, I don't know if this is turmoil, down 1%. We're still, like I said, we are trading off, so this is something to be respected. And this was also expected 2 days ago. We expected to see this thing back up for a couple of days, so we'll see how this thing finishes. We've got 3.5 minutes to go, trading 71.50. Yeah, Jeffrey, I'm trying to get my brother's in the multifamily space. I've been trying to get him to do some kind of live stream, start talking about some of the things going on in his space, which has been interesting. It's also interesting looking at Airbnb, how well they're doing versus the hotel industry. A lot of folks aren't looking at checking the hotels, but a lot of folks are using Airbnb. We're trading very close. We're coming into 2.5 minutes. We're trading right near the lows of the session here. There we are. Looks like they're going to try to print them through. Yeah, there we go, new low. So I think we're about 20-second delay. So if you folks are watching on screen, there's a bit of a delay. So we printed 68, 68.50 was the old low. This is pretty typical action. You print new lows and then you rally 3 to 4 handles, and then they come back and retest them again. We're not going to have enough time for that. We're into 1.6 minutes left in the session. Yeah, exactly, Jeffrey. I know. My brother's got a pretty large unit in a city that's doing really well. Kind of interesting. And as you know, they're premium rents as well. So we're traded 68 even. And now we're back at 70.50, and we are in the final minute of trade. So we'll see if we get any short covering, see if anybody's looking to hold these things over. Yeah, I don't know. You know, there's not very many people going in and out of those Airbnbs manifesting. Not sure they're spreading anything. There we are, new lows into the close, final minute. There we are, 66 trades. So some heavy selling coming in right at the close. This is everybody squaring up trades, 65 prints. So we are just about done, 4 even, 375, 350. There's the final bell. So we sold down to 250 finally, and now we're seeing a 4-handle run. We're seeing a little short covering, so we'll stay with this for another minute or so just to see how this thing plays out and see if there's any short covering. So we bounced 250, we're now 675. We'll see how this thing settles out. Takes about 2 minutes. After that, we could see further short covering, but gives you an idea of what everybody is doing. You know, so we saw this last hour was pretty brutal. We'll go back and review this here in a second. Yeah, 68.25, low 62.50. We're still within that first minute after the close. $67.50, so I think 875 was the high. Yeah, the minute high was 68.50 was the high print during that period. So we pretty much stabilized after that. This is the second minute. So yeah, I really thought I'd turn that microphone off. I appreciate that, Richard. Let's finish this thing up. No, I kept it. I kept it, Lori. We'll see how it plays out. a small position. That's also really important to understand when you take that stuff out. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Anyway, wasn't anything that drastically said, Richard, that was the end of the world. So, let's take a couple looks at a few things. I don't know when Ross Stores comes out with their earnings. I don't know that this chart. I think the last price will reflect what's going on as far as that goes. But the sell-off was less. It's interesting. Let's look at this thing. Russell down 1.26, so it gave back a lot. NASDAQ was only down 0.76. So we saw that spread kind of invert. That's what happened there. I was showing you that a few minutes ago. And we're trading on the NASDAQ daily. 11,911 is the 10-period moving average. And we're still looking at maybe it could rebound. We still have a few minutes to go before the official close on the futures before they reopen. So we'll see how this thing settles out. But we're trading right at the 10, give or take a few pennies. Now the PPM1 is now at 0.12. It's a little vulnerable here, but we're going to be looking at see how the market grid comes out. And those of you that are subscribers and using Market Grid, there's still not an official time when things get, that when they get released. It's typically when I get back in the evening. There's still a manual process going on. We are working on getting something that will be 100% automated, that will be in line with what's going on with the WaveTech models when all that database updates and all that. So still working on a few things there. So it's coming together, slow but sure. Let's go across the spectrum here and let's take a look at the Russell. We did print down. If we look at the market grid here, the low 69. We printed the S2, S1 1801, the high 1805. So basically, I'm sorry, R1 S2. That was the prediction for today. When it comes to the SPX, we actually went through the STX number, which was pretty surprising to me. I thought we'd print S2, S3 was 83, STX was 74. We had a close at 67, and we closed at the low of the day. Thank you, Hongbu. Yeah, let's take a look at that. Here's Ride, Lordstown Motors Corp. Big move up. Let's put a model on this just to see. I don't know if we have this in our other database. Let me just see something here. Yeah, there's not much there though. Let me go back to this other one. So yeah, what we're looking here is, let me put a model on this real quick. Yeah, so we got a buy on this at 1885. Last trade 2750. Looks to me, you can see expanding market grid. Market grid tomorrow is suggesting 2840, 28.30 would be the higher end of the range. The high today was right at that level, 29.70. So it looks like maybe this thing is going to continue to go up. Don't know anything about this company, but that's from a technical viewpoint is what it looks like. Yeah, like I said, this is the weekly. Not enough data there to really do anything with that on a weekly. But hopefully that was helpful for you. Yes, I saw this one earlier. Let me do that. Naked Brand. Here's daily. We actually got a buy on the open this morning at 10 cents. This is a 13-cent stock. So but we got a buy on it. For what that's worth, I don't know if there's anything here on these penny stocks. Are pretty, there's nothing there. Pretty tough to, let me try to do one thing here, see if we can get any kind of perspective. Yeah, so it actually bought the open this morning, which is interesting. Beyond the Grid, these stocks are impossible. I wish I could give you some kind of guidance on them. It's pretty tough. I love Spotify. One of my favorite things. Basically neutral on this stock, or just below. Actually did pretty well considering today and how things traded. Yeah, we're seeing. I'm just looking at the futures real quick here, just glancing back, and we're seeing they're still printing between that. We went down and made a new low in the after market already. We printed 59. We're back at 64. The low prior to that was 62.50. So we did print a new low after so there's still a fair amount of selling coming in after the close, which is significant from that standpoint. That there's still folks looking to sell out there, and so big turnaround in that last hour of range. And I said I would look at that stuff, and we will. I'll just finish on Spotify for the stocks. We're trading below. We've seen this pattern a lot, where we're trading just below the moving averages on a daily, and this thing it looks like it wants to act a little better, but there's nothing really big here, or wouldn't appear. So let's, like I said, let's take a look. We did get a move down on the market grid. So we traded, this is interesting because the fast moving average is 35.61. So we traded down to the 10-period moving average today. PPM's up 0.35. There's only a 40% probability that we'll close below that level. So we should see a rebound from this level, might see a spike through and then rebound. But this is telling us that there's still enough high probabilities that we'll see this thing rebound from these levels. And you look at where we were just a couple days ago, and as I was alluding on the video last night, is that we got that 36.45 high, we got a 28 high on Monday. These are almost identical how these weeks are trading. Going back to last Monday, we had vaccine news, spike, retracement. This Monday, vaccine news, spike, retracement. We'll see if it holds these levels, but there's definitely, we traded right to I was talking about hitting the 10-period moving average tomorrow. It's already done it today. So we'll see. And as those of you who watch the channel know, I'm going to let the dust settle around this thing, walk away, and see if we can come back and how it will play out as we come in for tomorrow. And it's hard to believe that this is midweek already, and we're about to see the markets start to think about how they're going to close out on the end of the week and what's going to go on. We do have, I know folks dispute these numbers all the time, but they are part of market sentiment, which is the continuing claims and the claims numbers. Their claims are going to remain high. There's no doubt about that. Continuing claims, I'm still expecting to see those things drop. I'll go through all those details in tonight's video. So let's do, bear with me 1 second here, folks. All right, so yeah, I think that pretty much is the end of the stream. I do see a couple stocks that folks are going. Yeah, the next I see some talk about NYC lockdown. I don't know, does anyone actually trade on the New York Stock Exchange? I have an old buddy who left there years ago. It basically is a glorified set for CNBC. Everything's done electronically. I'm not sure that's even relevant. Anyway, it goes to what I was talking about earlier in this stream, is that the realities are that most of the things that are being affected by lockdowns have already migrated to a different business model. A lot of new things are changing. The things that didn't work before are still working, and any new lockdowns aren't going to affect those things at any material level. Those material effects have been realized already, and we'll move forward from there. So yeah, let me do. We're going to finish with LYFT. And we'll call it quits right here. So we'll take a lift out of town here. But we traded. It's interesting. We got the RXT sell, got 2 or 3 days sideways, moved back up. We printed above those numbers today. You know, it's interesting. I think in the contrast with everything that's going on, that I'm trying to think of the right way to say this, is the California, New York, others out there trying in the mode of trying to lock things down again. I'm not sure they ever open. So what are they talking about? I guess, you know, it is interesting that now that I think they're closing bars at 10 o'clock at night, evidently prior to 10 o'clock, COVID doesn't spread until after 10 o'clock every night, which I think is kind of interesting, that there's some kind of time that you have. Anyway, I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe it's based on more people go to a bar after 10. I don't know. It just seems really odd. So we'll leave it with that, and you know, we'll all continue to deal with this situation the best we can. But I think from an economic viewpoint, everything that's been screwed around and upset, it has been and isn't getting better or worse. And things that have migrated, even Target's earnings show you that there's a new business model that's evolving. Walmart, same thing, even though they missed, you're seeing a completely different how these big box retailers are embracing the public and how they're doing business. And it's not all about Amazon anymore. Everybody's probably should have figured it out before this, but the great reset is on, as they say. Folks, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I know we had about 600 folks hanging out today, so it's always good. Yeah, on the downside, Babak, I think, I'm not sure I pronounced your name right, but same thing, when you get a close below the STX, you usually get a 2 to 3 day upside on that. So we did have that happen on the S&P and some other markets. So that's going to be definitely going to be watched. That happens a lot. I could show you where that even happens on a 1 minute graph. In the next 2 or 3 minutes, that effect happens. So anyway, thanks again, everybody, for watching. Really appreciate it. We appreciate all the activity on the channel. Those of you that subscribed and are using our software, all of our other services, I really thank you a lot. It's greatly appreciated. And we got a lot of cool stuff coming. Trust me. All right, guys and gals, thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you soon. Yeah, go ahead and hit that like button, too. That would be awesome.